All right, so the wealth tax, of course, is something Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been voicing their support for and coming out with their own plans. And it was recently shown that these plans would in fact hurt the very people that they're supposed to help, which should shock no one and is pretty par for the course when it comes to government schemes. Now, first of all, this study I'm looking at states that it uses the most conservative estimates, so whatever negative impacts it may reveal are actually on the low end. If Sanders or Warren actually got their way and implemented this, it has an extremely high probability to be far more painful than even what this study estimates. So what does it say? It says the first effect it would have would be to reduce GDP by 0.6% annually over the first 5 years, 0.8% annually over the next 5 years, and then 1% annually over the long run. This translates essentially to trillions upon trillions of dollars in economic activity that will no longer take place. People will not be working and producing these products, and people will no longer be buying these products. It would be a significant blow to the economy. Now, I should mention that GDP going down in the long run in some cases is not the worst thing in the world. For example, if government stopped inflating GDP through constant deficit spending, in the long run that would be beneficial. It would be worth a lower GDP to stop heading down that road to hell, but that doesn't describe Sanders and Warren's plan here. In fact, quite the opposite. We would see a reduction in GDP directly stemming from the destruction of productive activities in the economy. This, in no sense, is a good thing. So furthermore, Sanders and Warren's wealth tax plans would have a significant impact on consumption, as taxes almost always do. Essentially, it's somewhat similar to what I said before. People will be buying less. There's going to be less job opportunities, less wealth for the rich. So yes, Warren and Sanders would likely reach that goal. They'd be able to diminish the wealth of those upper-class people if those upper-class people didn't move all their money away from the U.S. and say peace out to everyone. But unfortunately, they would also be reducing the wealth of everyone else as well. And this leads me to the next negative impact that Sanders or Warren's wealth tax would have. That is that it would hurt the incentives to invest. People will either not invest or invest far less than they otherwise would have. They'll say to themselves, well, here's a business with a product or service that I think society would love to have, and I'd love to fund some of their operations so they can offer this product to a wide range of people. But why would I do that? If they end up successful, a huge chunk of my earnings is going to be taken away anyway. So when they calculate for the risk they're taking on, they'll say to themselves, even if this ends up in my favor, it's going to be less lucrative. It's riskier now because the people likely buying these products don't have as much wealth as they otherwise would have without this wealth tax. And not only is it riskier, the reward is now diminished as well, because Warren and Sanders have decreed that I must give up more money I made off of this potentially good decision. So essentially what Sanders and Warren are proposing would have a multi-pronged negative effect. It would increase the risk of investing, and it would decrease the potential reward for investing. That means you get less of everything. That business that might have opened up or expanded could not secure funding, could not find investors, and the investors were not willing to invest as much. That means jobs aren't created, products aren't created, services aren't offered, and all of this is done to us. Why? Because screw the rich, that's why. But in the meantime, you get screwed too. So we've actually seen this before. This reminds me of California in the 90s when they implemented a luxury tax. Again, it was sold the same way. You know, those rich people, they can afford it. We're going to take more from them and improve the lives of everyone else. I could see how that's an attractive idea. Unfortunately, the thing that people must understand is that it just doesn't work that way, because what happened? Well, they implemented the luxury tax, and guess what? Those rich people stopped buying those gold watches, those yachts, and stopped using a private jet, stopped buying that jewelry, and they stopped buying luxury vehicles, and so on and so forth. So who ended up getting hurt? It was all the businesses and employees that produce, repair, and refurbish these products. Their market shrunk overnight, and you saw a significant increase in unemployment in these industries among working class, middle class people. It hurt the very people that those politicians promised it would help. It was an overall disaster, and that is precisely what you will see with these proposed wealth taxes from Sanders and Warren. As with all of these government initiatives, they fail spectacularly due to their inability to think things through, their narrow-mindedness, their short-sightedness, and their utter failure to take into account any unintended consequences. But that is it for now. Please subscribe and share this video with your Bernie and Warren friends, and take it easy.